Frida Kahlo and Steve Jobs, where art meets innovation. I bet you think the world's most famous painter and the guy who created your iPhone have absolutely nothing in common. But what if I told you they were obsessed with the exact same thing? On one hand, you have Frida Kahlo. Her life was a storm of color, chaos, and unbelievable pain, which she poured onto her canvases. On the other, you have Steve Jobs. His life was all about clean, simple focus, which he poured into computer chips and glass screens. We're talking about a legendary artist from Mexico and a billionaire CEO from Silicon Valley. They seem like they're from different universes. But if you look closer, past the paint and the pixels, you'll see they were basically the same person. They were both master architects of their own reality. It's like they looked at the world and said, "Nope, I don't like this version," and then used their willpower to literally build a new one. This isn't just art versus tech. This is the insane story of how two legends, separated by decades, use the exact same playbook to change the world. They didn't just make stuff, they invented new ways of seeing. And it all started because they refused to accept reality. The world of Frida Kahlo, the revolutionary artist. To understand Frida Kahlo, you have to understand pain. I mean, constant, insane pain. When she was 6, polio wrecked her right leg. Then, at 18, a bus crash that is almost too horrible to imagine. A metal pole impaled her body, destroying her spine, her pelvis, and basically everything else. She had over 30 surgeries and lived every day in agony. For 99% of people, that's where the story ends. For Frida, this was the starting line. Stuck in a full-body cast, her dad set up a mirror over her bed and gave her a special easel. Since she couldn't go anywhere, she started painting the only thing she saw, herself. She literally said, "I paint myself because I am so often alone, because I am the person I know best." But she wasn't just passing the time. This was a declaration of war. Her art was her ultimate weapon. Imagine using your biggest weakness as your ultimate superpower. That's what she did. She didn't just paint her suffering. She put it under a microscope, ripped it apart, and turned it into something powerful. Her paintings were her diary with zero filter. When you look at her painting, The Broken Column, you don't just see her pain, you feel her spine being torn apart. She painted her miscarriages, her insane marriage, and her deepest fears with a level of honesty that was completely shocking at the time. She famously said, "They thought I was a surrealist, but I wasn't. I never painted dreams, I painted my own reality." This is the secret to everything. Her art wasn't an escape from the real world. It was like she was playing the real world on hard mode and winning. She took the most broken, painful parts of her life and remixed them into masterpieces. And her rebellion wasn't just in her art. In a world where everyone tried to fit in, Frida was a professional rule breaker. She proudly rocked her unibrow, smashing every beauty standard. She wore traditional Mexican dresses to show her pride, and then would throw on a man's suit just to mess with people's ideas of gender. She was openly bisexual, a communist, and refused to let anyone put her in a box. Frida Kahlo's entire life was her greatest creation. She didn't just paint her reality, she built her own identity as a work of art. A masterpiece made of pain, passion, and pure, unbreakable will. The world of Steve Jobs, the tech innovator. Now, let's teleport from the colorful world of Mexico to the clean white rooms of Cupertino, California. There was another reality bender here, but his paintbrush was technology. Steve Jobs, just like Frida, refused to accept the world as it was. He saw a world filled with ugly, beige plastic boxes that nobody loved, and he became obsessed with making technology simple and beautiful. His goal wasn't just to build better computers, it was to create tools that would feel like a part of you. He literally wanted to put a dent in the universe. His secret weapon was something his team called the reality distortion field. It's as crazy as it sounds. It was his superpower to convince anyone, including himself, that his wildest ideas were 100% possible. It was like a cheat code for reality. An engineer would say a project would take 6 months, and Jobs would stare at them and convince them it could be done in a week. The craziest part? He was usually right. This field wasn't a magic trick. It was the engine that powered Apple. It let him ignore all the doubt and negativity that stops everyone else. While other people saw problems, Jobs saw a reality that was flexible, like clay. He believed that if you acted like you could do the impossible, it would become possible. He was obsessed with making things simple, but not the easy kind of simple. It's like building with Legos. Anyone can make a giant, messy pile. But it takes a genius to build something incredible with just a few perfect pieces. He drove his teams insane by cutting out anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. He even demanded that the computer chip Inside the Mac, the parts you would never see had to be beautiful. Why? Because for him, a product was a single work of art. As he said, design is not just what it looks like, design is how it works. Jobs wasn't selling computers. He was selling his version of reality, one that was better, simpler, and more elegant. He was a corporate pirate, from his Think Different ad campaign to his intense, often brutal leadership style. He didn't build what focus groups wanted. He believed people don't know what they want until you show it to them. He didn't follow the market, he created it. Like Kahlo, Jobs was an artist. His medium was just tech. He didn't invent every single piece of technology, but he was a genius at connecting the dots and mixing old ideas into something completely new and mind-blowing, where art meets innovation, the shared philosophy. So you have the painter who turned her broken body into art, and the CEO who turned a garage into the world's biggest company. They sound totally different, right? Wrong. This is where your mind gets blown. If you strip away the paint and the code, you find out they were running on the exact same operating system. Let me break it down. First, their obsession with detail. Frida was obsessed with her image. Her clothes, her house, her eyebrows. It was all one big, carefully designed brand. Every single object in her paintings is a symbol. Now think of Jobs. He would lose his mind over the curve of a corner on an iPhone or the sound of a button click. For both of them, the tiny details weren't just details, they were everything. Second, they were master rule breakers. Frida completely destroyed the idea of what a female artist should be. She painted subjects that were totally taboo and became a legend for it. Steve Jobs was the ultimate corporate rebel. He fought against boring, soulless companies. The famous 1984 Apple ad wasn't selling a computer, it was selling a revolution. They both looked at the rules and said, "No thanks, I'll make my own." Third, and this is the most insane link, they weaponized their life story. Frida's entire collection of art is her life story. Her pain was her power source. She didn't hide her flaws, she turned them into her logo. Steve Jobs' personal journey was the heart of Apple. Getting fired from his own company, his travels in India, his love for calligraphy, he plugged all of it into his vision for Apple. They didn't just sell products, they sold their story, their taste, and their vision. They knew the most powerful creations come from a deeply personal place. Finally, they were both obsessed with building a legacy. Kahlo's goal wasn't just to paint, it was to leave behind a body of work that would last forever. And it did. She's now a global icon. Jobs was obsessed with building an enduring company that would outlive him. He wasn't just trying to get rich, he was trying to make a dent in the universe. And he did. Both of them succeeded in creating something that became bigger than their own lives. They used different tools, a paintbrush and a circuit board, but their core philosophy was identical. An insane belief in their own vision and a relentless drive to force the world to see what they saw. They teach us that true innovation in art or tech comes from refusing to accept the world as it is. If this video changed the way you think about anything even a little, you need to destroy that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. We are breaking down the minds of the world's biggest creators and innovators every single week, and I promise you will not want to miss what we uncover next. So what's the final lesson from a legendary painter and a tech god? It's that reality is not a rulebook. It's a sandbox. Kahlo was told her body was broken, but she built a reality where her body was a source of infinite strength. Jobs was told his ideas were impossible, but he built a reality where those ideas are now in billions of pockets. Both of them were driven by this unstoppable need to pull the world that existed in their head out into the real world. They didn't just live in the reality they were given, they were obsessed with building their own. And that might be the most powerful idea there is. The tools you use, paint, code, words, a business, don't matter. What matters is the reality you are determined to build. So the biggest question they leave us with is not what you will make, but what reality you will build.